Hello and welcome to FEMME-PRENEUR. Yes, you can, ladies. This interview series is specifically geared towards celebrating female entrepreneurs. I want to celebrate who they are, what they went through, how they got to where they are, and honestly, the biggest celebration for this one is the simple fact that they chose to go for it for themselves. We all know that the hardest step in being an entrepreneur is taking that first step, followed closely by not giving up on yourself when the going gets tough, especially for a female entrepreneur. That's what this channel is for. I'm here to interview, to give light, to give all of the praise that you absolutely deserve to all of the ladies on this channel. Thank you for being here and enjoy the show. All right, so today we have here my good friend Megan, and we are going to go through some beautiful questions. Welcome, Megan. Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you for having me. Honored to be here.
Amazing. So I'm going to jump right into it, my friend. Question number one, did you always know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur? And if not, when did you come to that realization or make that decision for yourself?
You know what? The first time I knew that an entrepreneur was a thing, I think I was in grade 11 and I was in a class called entrepreneurship and I had no idea what it was. It was just a class on my curriculum itinerary. And so I discovered this world where you got to have an idea and then create a business with an idea. And it was just play to me. It was so much fun. And I actually got awarded in that class, most likely entrepreneur. So yeah, that's when I discovered it. And I've been playing in the realm since then.
That is so cool. You are the first person to answer that question like that. I will tell you, most people, including myself, I did not even until I would say my mid-20s. No, I guess it was my early 20s. No, I had never even heard the word entrepreneur and I had no understanding of what it was. This is not even an option set out. So that is epic. That's amazing. And here you are.
Yeah, well, shout out to Hillsong Secondary for planting those seeds early.
Yes. Good job, school. I love it. And I mean, there is a base curriculum, of course, within Canada, but then all around the world is different. But then there are differences even within the country, even within the provinces, right? And the school boards themselves. So that's a great highlight right there. And that is a class that should be held in every single school around the world.
Yeah.
Amazing. So number two, tell me about your business and a little bit about yourself. What do you do?
Yeah, it's such an evolution. Where to begin? I mean, so my business is called SHEVOLVE, and not only is it an evolution in itself, it has definitely been facilitating a personal evolution or shevolution in myself as well, which business tends to do, right? I feel like it is a vessel for rapid self-actualization and personal evolution, and I've really been riding the waves of that ever since I started it 3 years ago. It kind of came into form as a blog. The intention behind it was just to create this platform where women could share their stories of awakening and spiritual development. I was really feeling called to make spirituality mainstream. I'd been living in the spiritual closet for so long and was just craving connection and sisterhood and all these woo conversations that, I really only had in my journal and with a few close people, including my husband. So yeah, SHEVOLVE was really born as just a platform to have these conversations and to hear the stories of other women. And from there, it evolved into a membership community. So all the women who had been writing for the site, also many of them had businesses that they were launching in the early stages. And my background is in marketing. And, entrepreneurship's just been such a passion of mine for so long. So I was able to create a community where I could support these women with their businesses. So that was beautiful. And then from there, it kind of evolved into a marketing agency, which is so funny because my mind never had that as a plan. Right. But I was really in a deep state of surrender right at the beginning of COVID. I was actually reading the Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer and was practicing just seeing what presented and saying yes. And a lot of my members were asking for marketing support. And some of the women on my team who were, part-time, they had lost their jobs teaching yoga and whatnot. So I was like, yeah, we can do your marketing. And so we started taking on marketing clients and helping our clients with social media management and Facebook ads and funnels and strategy. And that's been, that kind of leads us to where we are now. And again, I feel like I'm in this recalibration at this moment as well, up to the next level for myself and for my business. So watch this space, but there's some things shifting in SHEVOLVE right now for sure.
That is so beautiful. And it touches on my favorite part of entrepreneurship, which I don't feel like it's given the space that it requires or that it deserves, in that your initial idea isn't always what it's going to become, right? It might be at first and it might literally not be at all, but run with it, go with it, and then be open and give the yeses as the universe is giving you those cues, right? It's so important, because I feel like a lot of people in general, not just women, of course, we're speaking about women today, but they get to that first stage and they're like, well, this is not what I envisioned, or I'm not moving the way that I thought I was going to. And then it's a setback. It's an overthinking. I'm not following the plan that I set out, when that's not always the intention. It's almost never the intention really for entrepreneurship. It's just a learning process as you go.
Yeah, it is really an art of receiving and surrender. The mind likes to have plans. Many of us, we're conditioned in a very masculine society. Many of us that enter the business world, we're very type A. So we like to have structure. We like to have plans and goals. And ultimately, there's always a bigger plan, right? Always. And sometimes it takes like dropping the mental attachment to outcome and truly tapping into who we are and what we're feeling in the present moment, and be guided by that.
And being so okay with that, like 100% just trust, right? That gut intuition. I loved the word. I'm loving this word, shevolution. I love it. It's so perfect. It goes obviously so much with your brand, but it's just, that really stuck out to me when you said that. I love it. Mm-hmm. So question number 3 is, what hardships have you faced either in your personal or professional life previous to, or as you have been growing your business?
Oh yeah, where to start with that? Hardships. Well, I mean, maybe I'll speak to something that I'm experiencing more recently, and a shift that's kind of going on. And I don't necessarily like to dive in with too much perspective on something that's quite alive right now, but this is something that I have been moving through. And that is, and I think you can relate to this too, Jess, being a mom and in the business space, and, wanting to cultivate these beautiful lifestyles where we're able to be there for our children and travel. And I also have a side of me that's very ambitious and, wants to create this empire. And I've really been doing a lot of reflective work and tuning into like that desire to create this really big movement. And what I've been finding through this is a lot of self-worth tied into business, and unraveling kind of my worth from my business has shown me that, I don't need a big empire to justify or to testify for myself as a human being. And that really, like, ultimately for me, at least in this season of my life, is to create that lifestyle of spaciousness and abundance and joy and freedom. Mm-hmm. And just shifting from that mindset of needing to achieve so much in order to have that lifestyle, and sinking into more of the experience of letting it be easy and letting mm-hmm. it come naturally. So yeah, just moving from this, like I've mentioned before, like this really type A linear, I'm going to like conquer the world type of mindset, unraveling parts of kind of the more shadowy aspects of me that potentially were driving that, and just stepping back and getting into a space where it all can align from a much more receptive, authentic place.
Yeah, I think that's, it's beautiful. And you're right. I do resonate with it so much because, You said it perfectly when you said this is a season, because I've had to refer to that so many times over building the business and being a mom and how to balance that. And, it's quite possible. In fact, it's quite likely that you're going to have this empire, but it might not just be right in this season, because maybe in this season, it's more important for us to be building as we're building, because we can, and I know that we can, but to also make sure that we're there enjoying our children and that our children are enjoying us as their moms, and knowing that we're building as we are living this life, which is, if you take a step back and look at the big picture, that is it. Like, that's it. And then on the other end, when we move into that next chapter, the possibilities are endless.
Absolutely. And also just allowing it to, if an empire is meant to come through, allowing it to rise also from this softer, more feminine place, and not trying to project the timeline or how it's going to happen, but just trusting that it will, and that it can happen in so many different ways that the mind can't predict.
100%. That rounds right back into surrendering. Mm-hmm. It's so hard mentally for us to do. And again, I think it happens a lot where you think you are, but you're like surface surrendering. You're not real surrender. You're not like surrendering. You're like, I've surrendered. I've let it down. When you dig deep, or when you're faced with that next challenge, you're like, oh man, like I haven't fully let go.
Layers it is. It's like a deepening of surrender. And, even now I feel like, oh gosh, I surrender so much deeper than I did a year ago or 2 years ago. But what else? Like, how much deeper can it go? Yeah, totally.
And then we're surprised with more. Okay, question number 4 is, if you could go back and tell yourself one thing, what would it be?
I think I would tell myself, just let it be easy, just let it be easy. Don't consume yourself in so many things to do and take yourself so seriously, like drop into ease. Yeah, I think that. And also, if I'm going to go back even further to like younger me, like late teens, early 20, it would be like, just don't care what other people think of you. I spent so much time so worried about what other people thought of me, so desperate for external validation. And I completely lost myself in that, just really trying to be who I thought people wanted me to be. And it took a long time to shift that and to remember that I am whole and complete and perfect within myself. So yeah, that's been a huge lesson, and something I think a lot of women can probably relate to.
Absolutely. I feel like most of our generation of women, and I obviously can't speak for generations before, but I'm sure they had a huge part of this as well, whether it changes over generations, and I understand that, but this is just such a big one. And now myself, as well as I know you will be living the same. Now we have this generation underneath us. Now we have these, young boys and girls under us who we are raising, whether we are the moms ourselves, or we are the aunts, or we are the older sisters, or whatever our role is in their lives, to try to help them not have to be 30 before they learn how to love themselves, right? Which is a huge push for obviously everything that I stand for, because I can't stand the fact that it was about 30 years old when I was like, what is wrong with the way that I see and perceive myself in the world? And I don't want that to take that long for everybody else. I want, you to grow up and just be very confident in who and what you are. Be a good person, be a kind person, go for, what you love and what you're passionate about, and just love who you are. It seems so simple, yet it's so, so difficult for so many of us.
Yeah. And I wasn't raised to know that there was a me inside of myself, if you know what I mean. Like,
okay,
raised that way to know like that, there's an essence of myself that wasn't a language in my family. So like just that externally focused set point. And then of course, we were in a generation with the celebrities and the musicians and all of hype. But yeah, it is so beautiful to raise kids with the self-awareness and being able to just really embed that in our children from a very young age. Like, I wish my life would have been so different if I would have had that awareness at a young age.
Now, when you're saying that about how you were raised, I'm curious, is it like, it was just that, like, for example, myself, it was just, there was this one, streamline, and this was your projected outcome. This is what you do in life. I remember like dancing even, and like, I'd want to dance in public, and it was like, don't do that. You're embarrassing. Like, it's embarrassing, like be quiet and be respectful and be polite and go to school and go to university. And this is the only way. There was no other way. Is that kind of similar? Is that what you're speaking to there?
Yeah. Like, I just remember I did have such a spark as a kid, and it always landed, like, it didn't land with people. Nobody really understood me. And yeah, there was like this pressure just to like conform and get the grades and win the soccer matches and go to university. And there was never like an inquiry into self. And there was never like a celebration of these gifts. And, so I just wasn't raised knowing how to express myself authentically.
No.
It comes naturally to all of us in the beginning, but it was eventually really just like carved into like this model of what a good adolescent. I mean, I rebelled like crazy, so I can't say that I actually conformed how people maybe wish I would have, but potentially that rebellion wouldn't have happened too if I felt, accepted and supported in my own personal expression.
Yes. That spark that you speak of, and then it slowly just dulls over time because you feel misunderstood and mistaken and confused, and that confusion turns into frustration, and then it just becomes rebellion.
Yeah, which was so fun. Rebelling was so fun at the same time.
We learned so much through the rebellion, so much about ourselves that we didn't understand previous to, looking from the outside. It's so much different than what it actually is on the inside.
Yeah. Yeah. And it led us back here, right? Like, I feel like that was a necessary, like, fuck the system.
Necessary chapter.
And then eventually, reverting back to, who am I? How do I want to show up? And all the deeper layers.
Right after the rebellion's over, you're like, okay, so that wasn't quite me, but that wasn't quite me either. So now let's come back to me. The life stages. So true. So true. Question number 5 is, what do you think is the difference between you and every other woman out there thinking that they wish they could run their own business, but think they can't for whatever reason?
I think there's, a lot of things. I think we have so much encoded in us when we're born. Some of us, like astrologically speaking, or human design, like some of us are more naturally go-getter type people that are going to start businesses, and it comes very naturally to them. So yeah, I do think like part of it is just like who you are, like your soul blueprint and what you're meant to do in this lifetime. And then I feel like we're all raised in different ways with different possibilities and different stories and conditionings. And some people just don't get past like their own limiting beliefs and limitations. And other people have, support around them or circumstances in their life where they're able to blow past all of the kind of limiting behaviors and beliefs holding them back. So yeah, I think some people are just, it's in their dharma. There's no way to stop them. And other people potentially like are prioritizing other things, and maybe it's not meant for them in this lifetime. And I think probably the people watching this right now, they do feel a very strong call, and it is within them. And I would just say to them, if they haven't taken that step yet, it does feel scary, and it doesn't feel easy sometimes. And it's a process of just learning to be comfortable in the uncomfortable and in the unknown. I like to call it the quantum free fall sometimes, just like taking that step and just learning to be comfortable, like not knowing how it's going to happen or how it's going to take shape. And it always feels like that in the next level of business.
Always.
So you kind of get used to it at the beginning. Like it's never going to, it will get easier, but it's always going to feel scary in its own way. So yeah, just being courageous and just doing it and taking that first step and continuing forward with like ultimate faith.
Taking that first step. You know, it's funny when you said like, it always feels scary and it's always just a little bit like crazy. My husband and I had that conversation the other day, because it's no longer that we are, let's just say 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. So in a way we have all of this freedom and all of this abundance and all of this loveliness around us. Okay. But at the same time, I find myself often going, oh, I have this. Oh, and I have that. And I'm getting a little bit like everything's in my calendar and that's all fine and dandy. Check your calendar and then you're going to be fine. But there's a difference between walking in and knowing where you're going every day. It's the same thing, punching in, punching out, 5 p.m., 9 a.m., 5 p.m., and having to really be disciplined in how you're scheduling yourself, really be disciplined in knowing when you're overloading or underloading yourself. And it's a completely different world. And this is another challenge that I think entrepreneurs face. And it can feel so hard that it can be a reason that people give up, because they don't have the tools and they aren't okay with failing through and fumbling through a few overlapped meetings or forgotten meetings and being able to pick yourself up and kind of move forward and learn from that lesson.
Yeah. I mean, I've been like, I'm a really shitty 9 to 5 person. I've never really held a job for a couple months. So, and every time I've had a job, I've been like building businesses and working. So,
right.
I can't speak to that, but, I can speak to those stepping into the world of entrepreneurship and finding that balance between like productivity and scheduling, and then the balance of like, cultivating a lifestyle that supports you also, and allowing some spaciousness and some freedom, and
yes.
Just finding a rhythm that works for you. But support is just so beautiful. Like having communities like yours, where you tap into other women experiencing that, to be held accountable, to be inspired. Like, that's just such an important part of the journey, because it can feel so lonely also, especially if you're not surrounded by a bunch of other entrepreneurs. A lot of us come from like a more normal, upbringing or community. Like if we're not in like the hubs of entrepreneurship, then you may not have a lot of people like in the physical form that have just left their job and have started online businesses. So tapping into online communities for support, and there's just so much support out there these days.
Which is a beautiful place. Like that would be something like your community offers as well, right? Like this is part of SHEVOLVE, is so that you have some like-minded people that you can network with, and that so that those, not just in the first points, but especially kind of when you're jumping off that first step and growing, so it doesn't feel so isolating.
Yeah.
Feels slightly less scary when you have somebody else that's like at the same point or has maybe just moved through that phase, and they can say, hey, like I've been there. I was there. I can help you. I can at least tell you that I've been there and I got through it.
Absolutely. And I love like the term expanders, and, really having somebody that's a few steps further than you in any area of your life that you're focusing on, just to help you hold the frequency and the vision of where you want to go, and to show you that it's possible. Like you're an expander for me, Jess, in Costa Rica, living there with your family. That's like the next step for me. And to see and witness you, another Canadian mom, making it a lifestyle is just so inspiring.
Well, girl, right back at you with you have this beautiful online presence. It's really captivating. I was so happy and just felt so like drawn to you as soon as our friend in common there connected us. I was just like, yes, thank you, universe. This is beautiful. This is so beautiful. Ooh, which leads me into number 6. What is your definition of a beautiful life?
I mean, for me right now, it's summer here in British Columbia, which is like my favorite time of year. I lived in Australia for 15 years in perpetual summer up in a tropical North Queensland. So, lived outside essentially, and moving into that season here. A beautiful lifestyle is just outdoors in nature, camping, traveling, seeing new places, having different experiences with my family. collaborating in fun and interesting ways with new people, birthing new ideas and offers, supporting other women with their dreams and their businesses. That all feels like just so much fun and play for me. And really, if I'm spending my life in the vibration of fun and play and service, then that's a beautiful life.
That is a beautiful life. It sounds absolutely glorious to me. It's one of my favorite questions to ask, and you answered it so beautifully.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for being here, Meghan. I appreciate every single moment and every single word that you said. You're going to be a part of, letting other women know that this is absolutely possible for them. And I just can't thank you enough for being here.
Yeah, so grateful. So lovely to connect with you and everybody in your beautiful community, and just wishing everybody so much success, whatever that feels like and looks like for you, just to move forward with your dreams and know that all is possible.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of FEMME-PRENEUR. It's so near and dear to my heart to have these women share their stories, be real, raw, and authentic, so that every single woman out there watching this knows that if you have a dream, if you feel a calling to go for it, you absolutely can. You have everything inside of you that you need to get started. Don't give up on yourself. You got this. Sending you so much love, so many hugs, and all of the powerful vibes in this world. You got this.